The forgotten power hidden in Psalm 23. Most people have read Psalm 23 hundreds of times. They've heard it at funerals, whispered it in times of fear, and recited it in moments of need. Yet, few have ever unlocked the divine code hidden within its words. This is not just a comforting poem. It is a spiritual map to a victorious life, a divine blueprint that, once understood, has the power to completely transform the way you think, live, and walk with God. In this message, I want you to lean in, not casually, but with a heart hungry for revelation. Because the truth I'm about to reveal is not something you've heard in Sunday school. It's the kind of truth that shakes the foundation of fear, breaks the grip of anxiety, and positions you to walk as a child of the King, lacking nothing, fearing nothing, and conquering everything. Psalm 23 is not merely about comfort in the valley. It is a prophetic declaration of authority, provision, protection, and destiny. If you truly grasp what it means, you will never look at your life, your struggles, or your future the same way again. Stay with me until the end of this message, because what's hidden between these 6 verses is the secret key to living a supernatural life. Most people read Psalm 23 as a comforting passage in times of sorrow, a gentle reminder of God's love recited at funerals or whispered during sleepless nights. But what if I told you that this psalm is not just a poetic prayer? It's a divine revelation, a hidden map to supernatural living that has been sitting in plain sight for thousands of years. What if the real reason so many believers still struggle with fear, lack, and confusion is not because God has abandoned them, but because they have never truly understood what this psalm is trying to teach them? Today, I want you to approach this message not with familiarity, but with expectation. Because the truths buried inside these 6 verses are not surface level encouragement. They are the secrets to walking in divine authority, peace, and provision in every area of your life. The ancient shepherd, King David, did not write these words as religious poetry. He wrote them as a declaration of a reality he had tasted, a relationship that transformed him from a forgotten shepherd boy into a man after God's own heart. Psalm 23 is not about memorizing verses. It is about stepping into a mindset that changes how you see God, how you see yourself, and how you see the battles you face. When David declared, "The Lord is my shepherd," he was making more than a statement. He was revealing the foundational truth that shapes every other promise in the psalm. If God is the shepherd, then you are the sheep, and that means you are no longer responsible for leading yourself. Think about that for a moment. Sheep do not strategize their next move. They do not worry about the path. They do not question where the next meal will come from. Their only job is to follow the shepherd's voice, and in doing so, they walk into provision, protection, and purpose without fear. This is the reason so many believers remain stuck in cycles of anxiety, because they claim God as their shepherd, but still try to control their lives as if they were in charge. The hidden truth is that surrender is the doorway to supernatural supply. Once you truly let God lead, you stop chasing things that were never meant to be your burden to carry. Psalm 23 is not about trying harder. It's about trusting deeper. It is a radical invitation to rest in the reality that if God is guiding you, nothing can misguide you. It is a promise that if He is the one leading your steps, you cannot miss your destiny. And it is a declaration that if the Lord Himself has taken responsibility for your life, then fear, lack, and confusion have no legal authority to remain. This is why this psalm has the power to transform. Because it is not a comfort blanket for the weak, but a royal decree for those ready to walk as sons and daughters under divine leadership. The very first line, "The Lord is my shepherd," is not a statement of religion. It is a declaration of identity and relationship. It means that you are no longer a wanderer, you are under divine leadership. It's not just about God guiding you. It's about you surrendering the right to guide yourself. This one sentence is the key to supernatural provision. Because sheep don't worry about what they will eat or where they will sleep. They simply trust the shepherd. When you truly understand that the Lord Himself has taken responsibility for your life, fear loses its authority and anxiety loses its grip. You stop striving and start resting in divine direction. The Lord is my shepherd is a statement many have heard, but few have truly understood. It is more than a poetic opening. It is a revolutionary declaration of identity that changes everything about how you live, think, and respond to the world around you. When David penned those words, he was not describing a distant deity or an abstract force. He was revealing an intimate relationship, one in which God takes complete responsibility for the direction, protection, and provision of His people. This is not religion, it is transformation. A shepherd does not merely guide, he owns, he guards, he leads, and he lays down his life for his sheep. And when you truly understand that, you stop living like an orphan trying to survive and start living like a beloved child walking confidently behind a faithful leader. This is the essence of divine sonship. Knowing that you are not left to figure out life on your own. That your future is not dependent on your intelligence, your resources, or your connections, but on the one who knows every path before you even take a step. Sheep don't plan their next move. They don't worry about where the next meal will come from. They simply listen for the shepherd's voice and follow it. And because of that, they always end up where they are supposed to be. This is the identity shift Psalm 23 is trying to awaken in you, that you are not called to be your own guide. The stress, anxiety, and confusion that overwhelms so many people are often the results of trying to be their own shepherd. But the moment you accept that God is leading, you give up the illusion of control and embrace the reality of peace. When the Lord is truly your shepherd, fear loses its grip, because you understand that nothing can reach you without passing through His hands first. You stop striving for provision, because you know that every need is already seen and supplied by the one who leads you. You stop panicking about direction, because the shepherd knows the end from the beginning. And even when the path looks uncertain, you keep moving forward, because you are not following your own wisdom. You are following the one who sees what you cannot. This is the kind of trust that changes your entire posture toward life. It turns worry into worship, panic into peace, and fear into faith. And this is not passive trust, it is powerful alignment. When you walk behind the shepherd, you walk in His rhythm. You step into His timing, and you inherit His promises. The reason this simple sentence is so powerful is because it's not just about who God is. It's about who you become when you belong to Him. You become a follower led by divine wisdom, a child secure in divine love, and a vessel prepared for divine purpose. I shall not want is not wishful thinking, it is a kingdom law. God is saying, if I am your shepherd, lack is illegal. This doesn't mean life will be free of challenges, but it means that no situation can override His provision. The hidden truth here is that abundance is not about wealth, it's about sufficiency. When God leads, He provides exactly what you need, exactly when you need it. And that mindset shift alone transforms your life from fear-based decision-making to faith-based living. I shall not want. 3 simple words, yet they carry a depth of divine truth that, if grasped, can completely rewrite the way you live your life. Most people read this line and interpret it as a vague hope, a comforting thought that maybe, someday, their needs will be met. But David was not speaking wishfully. He was declaring a spiritual law. He was not saying, I hope I will not want, or might not want. He was boldly proclaiming, because the Lord is my shepherd, lack is impossible. This is the mindset shift that separates those who walk in divine abundance from those who constantly live in fear of scarcity. When God takes responsibility for your life, every detail of your journey, from daily provision to ultimate destiny, comes under His care. And when the Creator of the universe is your provider, there is no situation, no crisis, no season that can diminish His supply. This does not mean that you will never face challenges or that life will always feel easy. It means that in every situation, there will always be enough. Enough grace to endure, enough wisdom to decide, enough strength to keep going, enough provision to fulfill the assignment He has placed before you. The hidden message in this verse is that true abundance is not about having everything you want. It's about never lacking what you truly need. And this truth liberates you from the bondage of fear. Most people make decisions based on the fear of not having enough. Not enough money, not enough time, not enough strength. But when you understand, I shall not want, fear loses its voice. You begin to live from a place of trust, knowing that every resource required for your journey will manifest at the appointed time. Even in seasons of scarcity, the shepherd knows how to lead you to green pastures. Even in dry places, He knows where the hidden streams flow. And even when all doors appear closed, He is the one who opens the way that no man can shut. The greatest enemy of faith is the illusion of lack, but Psalm 23:1 destroys that illusion. It declares that your source is not the economy, not your job, not your connections. Your source is the Lord. And because He is infinite, your supply is inexhaustible. This is the principle that transformed David's life. He was not a king when he wrote these words. He was a shepherd boy who had learned, through every trial and battle, that God's provision never failed. And it is the same truth that can transform your life today. When you stop looking at your circumstances and start looking at your shepherd, you realize that every step you take is already provided for. Every assignment you carry is already resourced, and every promise over your life is already funded by heaven. The world glorifies hustle, but the shepherd commands rest. A makes me lie down in green pastures isn't about laziness, it's about trust. Rest is not inactivity. It's the highest form of faith. When God instructs you to lie down, it's because the next season requires strength you cannot build through striving. This verse teaches that your battles are not won by exhaustion, but by alignment. He makes me lie down in green pastures. At first glance, this verse may seem simple, even passive, but hidden beneath its calm surface is one of the most powerful principles in the entire psalm. The principle of divine rest. Notice the wording, He makes me lie down. This is not a suggestion, it is an instruction. God, the shepherd, doesn't merely invite us to rest. He compels us to, because He knows something we often forget without rest. There is no strength for the journey ahead. We live in a world that glorifies exhaustion, where people wear busyness as a badge of honor and equate constant activity with productivity. But heaven operates on a different rhythm. In God's kingdom, rest is not laziness, it is alignment. It is a deliberate act of trust that says, I don't have to strive because my shepherd is in control. And that is why He makes us lie down, even when we don't want to. Because He knows that the battles we are about to fight will require more than human effort. They will require supernatural strength that can only be birthed in stillness. Green pastures represent more than physical provision. They symbolize spiritual nourishment. A place where the soul is refreshed and the heart is restored. The shepherd does not lead you to lie down in barren ground, but in a space overflowing with life and sustenance. And yet, many believers never experience this because they refuse to slow down. They chase after solutions, run after opportunities, and exhaust themselves trying to make things happen, forgetting that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to stop and be still. When God says, lay down, it is not to halt your destiny. It is to prepare you for it. He is strengthening your roots so you can bear greater fruit. He is restoring your soul so you can withstand greater pressure. And He is positioning you in a place where your decisions will flow from peace, not panic. This forced rest also breaks the illusion of self-sufficiency. It reminds you that success is not the result of your effort alone, but the outcome of His guidance. In moments of stillness, you begin to hear His voice more clearly. You realize that the path you were trying to carve by force is already prepared. You discover that the doors you were trying to break down are already open. Rest is not the absence of movement. It is the posture of faith that knows God is moving even when you are not. It is in that quiet space that clarity is born, strength is renewed, and purpose becomes unshakable. This is why the shepherd makes you lie down. Because He loves you too much to let you burn out before you reach your breakthrough. He knows that in His pasture, provision is not something you chase, it's something you receive. And once you learn to rest in Him, you step into a realm of grace where your life ceases to be defined by striving and starts to be defined by supernatural flow. Most people fear the valley, but the hidden message is this: the valley is not a punishment, it is a pathway. God doesn't promise to keep you out of the dark places. He promises to walk with you through them. Notice it says, walk through, not die in or stay in. The valley is temporary. And when you walk with the shepherd, even your enemies become platforms for your elevation. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. These words carry a weight of power that most overlook. This verse is not a poetic comfort for dark times. It is a revelation of spiritual authority in the midst of adversity. Notice the choice of words: walk through. David does not say, sit in, stay in, or deepen the valley. He says, walk through. That means the valley is not your destination. It is a passage. It is not a punishment. It is a process. And once you understand this, fear begins to lose its grip. Life's valleys, those seasons of uncertainty, pain, betrayal, loss, and doubt, are not evidence of God's absence, but proof of His presence. Because if He were not leading you, you would not even be on the path. The shepherd does not promise to keep you from every dark place, but He promises that no dark place will ever consume you. The shadow of death is not death itself. It is an illusion designed to paralyze you. Shadows have no substance. They cannot harm you. They only appear when light is present, which means that even in your darkest valley, the light of God is still near. When David says, I will fear no evil, he is not denying that evil exists. He is declaring that evil has no authority over him. Fear thrives on the unknown, but when you walk with the shepherd, nothing is unknown. He has already seen the end from the beginning. He knows where the path leads, and He knows how to guide you through it. Your job is not to understand every detail. Your job is to keep walking. This is where many people get stuck. They stop moving because the valley feels too dark or the pain feels too heavy. But stagnation is not the shepherd's plan. As long as you are walking, you are overcoming. As long as you are moving forward, you are growing. The valley is not meant to break you. It is meant to build you. It strips away false strength and forces you to rely on God's power. It deepens your faith sharpens your character, and strengthens your resilience. And the greatest truth of all is this: you are not walking alone, for you are with me. That single phrase changes everything. It means you are never abandoned, never forgotten, never left to fight on your own. The presence of God is not a feeling, it is a fact. Whether you sense it or not, He is beside you, guiding your steps, fighting your battles, and preparing a table for you on the other side of the valley. The same God who led you into the dark will lead you out. And when you emerge, you will not just survive. You will emerge stronger, wiser, and more unshakable than before. The valley was never your enemy. It was your classroom, your training ground, and your testimony in the making. The psalm ends not with survival, but with overflow. This is the destiny of every believer who understands the shepherd's plan: to live not from scarcity, but from abundance that spills into the lives of others. This overflow is not limited to money, it's peace, wisdom, influence, and purpose. God doesn't want you barely making it. He wants you overflowing, so that His goodness becomes visible to the world through your life. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. With this verse, Psalm 23 reaches its climax, and it's not about mere survival. It's about stepping into a life of divine overflow. Notice that David does not say, "You give me just enough to get by." He says, "My cup overflows." This is the language of abundance, of a God who does not measure blessings by your capacity to receive, but by His limitless nature to give. And here lies the hidden truth. God never intended for your life to be lived from a place of scarcity. His desire is not that you would scrape through existence, constantly fighting for what's yours, but that you would live from a place where blessings exceed your need and spill over into the lives of those around you. This is why the imagery is so powerful. A table set in the presence of your enemies. God doesn't remove the opposition. He blesses you in front of it. He doesn't silence every critic. He promotes you in their hearing. He doesn't eliminate every obstacle. He turns them into a backdrop for His glory in your life. This is the nature of divine favor. It does not wait for perfect conditions. It flourishes even in the most hostile environments. And the overflowing cup is more than just material provision. It is a life saturated with peace that circumstances cannot shake, joy that suffering cannot steal, wisdom that confusion cannot cloud, and purpose that opposition cannot derail. When God's anointing is on your life, doors open that no one can shut. Opportunities chase you instead of you chasing them. And blessings find you even when you're not looking. That's the power of being under the shepherd's care. You stop living in reaction to life's challenges and start living in response to His abundance. And notice the order: first comes the table, then the anointing, then the overflow. God blesses you publicly. He marks you supernaturally, and then He expands you beyond measure. The oil represents empowerment, the divine enablement to do what you could never do on your own. It's a sign that you are not just called but commissioned, not just chosen but equipped. And when the oil flows, overflow is inevitable. It means that your blessings will no longer be contained to your own life. They will spill into your family, your relationships, your ministry, your business, and your legacy. Overflow is not about greed, it's about impact. God blesses you so you can become a blessing. He fills your cup not just for you to drink, but for others to drink from it as well. And this is the destiny Psalm 23 points toward: a life where you walk not in fear or lack, but in divine abundance that no enemy can stop, no circumstance can limit, and no season can contain. It is the promise that when the Lord is your shepherd, your story will not end with emptiness. it will end with overflow. Psalm 23 is far more than a comforting passage to recite in moments of fear. It is a divine blueprint for victorious living. It is a revelation of who God is and who you are when you walk under His leadership. Each verse builds a spiritual journey, from surrendering to His guidance, to walking in supernatural provision, to resting in His timing, to standing fearless in the valley, and finally to living in a realm of overflow that nothing in this world can take away. This psalm was never meant to be merely read, it was meant to be lived. And when you allow its truth to shape your mindset, you stop living like someone who is lost and start walking like someone who is led. You stop surviving and start thriving. You stop fearing what's ahead and start trusting the one who goes before you. This is the hidden power of Psalm 330. It takes ordinary faith and transforms it into unshakable confidence, because you know you are not alone, you are not without provision, and you are not without purpose. The shepherd is with you, leading, protecting, providing, and overflowing your life with goodness. And when that reality becomes your foundation, no valley can break you, no enemy can stop you, and no season can define you. This is the secret meaning of Psalm 23, not a passage for the weak, but a promise for those ready to live with divine strength, fearless faith, and a future overflowing with the goodness and mercy of God.